Let's go back to the 2000s for a second. Think flip phones, low-rise jeans, and a TV schedule that was absolutely dominated by reality shows you just could not look away from. Well, guess what? They're back. Today, we're diving into why the shows that basically defined a decade are all of a sudden staging this massive comeback.
I mean, really, think about it. The early 2000s were such a wild time for television. It was the absolute golden age of what a lot of us, affectionately called trash TV. Whether you were glued to the screen watching a group of 20-somethings navigate drama in LA or, well, whatever was happening in that house in Seaside Heights, these shows were a total cultural phenomenon.
So to really get what's going on with this comeback, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look back at that original reality TV boom. Then, we'll talk about what happens when the cameras stop rolling. After that, we'll get into the great TV revival itself, see how these shows have changed for a new decade, and finally, ask what this all means for the future of unscripted TV. All right, first up, the reality TV boom. To get why they're coming back, you have to remember just how huge these shows were the first time around. In the 2000s, reality TV wasn't just another genre on TV. For a lot of networks, it became the defining format, and it was shaping pop culture in real time.
You know, this quote from Screen Rant just nails the feeling at the time. You had people who thought shows like Jersey Shore were basically a sign of the apocalypse, the end of culture as we knew it. But here's the thing, whether you loved them or you loved to hate watch them, you couldn't deny it. Everybody was watching.
And the landscape was so varied. You had whole channels like TLC and Bravo building their entire brand on these unscripted shows. A little show you might have heard of, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, literally turned a family into global icons. VH1 gave us that whole celebrity era with unforgettable classics like Flavor of Love. And hey, it wasn't all just drama. You had these huge heartwarming hits like Extreme Makeover Home Edition that everyone was talking about too.
But of course, the cameras have to stop rolling eventually. It doesn't matter how many viewers you have or how many magazine covers you're on. Every show has a shelf life.
And at the end of the day, cancellation is the great equalizer in television, right? Cast members move on, the ratings start to dip, or maybe people's tastes just change. For a long time, it really felt like that was the end of the story for these shows, we all knew. Or so we thought. This is where it gets interesting. Welcome to the Great TV Revival. Because in the last few years, networks and streaming services have started looking to the past to build their future, breathing new life into shows that have been off the air for years.
So what do we actually mean by a revival? It's actually pretty simple. It's when a TV show comes back to make brand new episodes after being gone for a while. The key thing here is that it's a continuation, not a total reboot with a brand new cast. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. I mean, look at these numbers. Jersey Shore was gone for 6 years before it came back. The Hills was off the air for 9 years. And get this, Temptation Island was basically dormant for a staggering 16 years before it was brought back from the TV graveyard. That is a huge amount of time. Which, of course, leads us to the million-dollar question. Why is this happening now? What is it about the TV industry today that makes digging up these old shows such a go-to strategy?
Well, it really boils down to 3 huge factors. First, these shows come with a built-in audience. You don't have to spend a ton of money building a fan base from scratch. Second, you've got the streaming wars. All these services are desperate for content to keep you subscribed, and a familiar title is a much safer bet than something brand new. And third, and this one is a big one, is the pure power of nostalgia. In a pretty chaotic world, there's a real comfort in revisiting people and places we already know.
Okay, so we know why they're coming back, but how do you actually take a show from, say, 2008 and make it work today? It's not as simple as just turning the cameras back on. The world is a different place, and so are the people watching. Sometimes the change is pretty straightforward, like with Extreme Makeover Home Edition. The basic idea of the show stayed exactly the same, but the iconic host, Ty Pennington, was swapped out for Jesse Tyler Ferguson in the 2020 version. It was a really clear way to signal a fresh start for a new era.
But here's the catch. Nostalgia is not a golden ticket. It's not a guarantee of success. For every huge hit like Jersey Shore Family Vacation, you've got revivals that just don't stick the landing. Shows like Paradise Hotel and Wife Swap have been brought back more than once, but they just couldn't find a long-term audience. And others, like the Super Nanny revival in 2020, were basically one and done. It proves this can be a really risky business.
So what's the secret sauce then? Well, the revivals that really work are often the ones that lean into the fact that time has passed.
The Hill's New Beginnings was all about following the original cast as they navigated adulthood. We're talking marriage, kids, real careers. It found a totally fresh story by showing how much their lives and their problems had grown up with them.
Okay, so what does this all mean for the future of TV? Are we just destined for an endless cycle of unscripted nostalgia? Well, this whole revival trend actually tells us a lot about where reality TV is going next.
So, while the past is definitely having a moment, the industry isn't only looking backward, not by a long shot. The streaming giants, in particular, are pouring tons of money into creating the next wave of iconic reality shows. I mean, just look at the sheer variety on a single platform like Netflix. You've got these wild, high-concept competition shows like The Circle or a real-life Squid Game. They're bringing in massive international hits from places like South Korea and Japan. They're making shows for super niche interests, and they're also pushing for much more diverse representation with series like The Ultimatum Queer Love. The innovation is happening, and it's happening fast. So, what's the big takeaway here? I think it's that the revival boom proves our love for nostalgia is incredibly strong, but that's not the whole story. The future of reality TV is actually this really fascinating mix of old and new. You've got these comforting throwbacks living right alongside these bold, diverse, and totally global new ideas. Which leaves me with one final question for you. With so many shows already making a comeback, what's the one forgotten gem from the reality TV vault that you think deserves another shot?